Welcome to the Autism ADHD podcast. It's the place to be for neurodiversity affirming parents and professionals. I'm your host, Holly Blanc Moses, the mom neurodivergent therapist. Here we chat about emotional regulation, mental health, social support, executive functioning, learning, and more, all aimed at empowering us to support kids and teens with compassion and understanding. I'm thrilled that you joined me today, and I've got some pretty exciting news to share with you. For those rock star therapists listening right now, I've created continuing education training that is tailor-made for you. Take a deep dive into cutting-edge strategies that you can start using today. The CEs you've wanted for so long are finally here. Go to hollyblancmoses.com/CE training and sign up. You are going to love it. The link is also available in the show notes. Now, if you are a parent or educator listening and you know a therapist or a psychologist that is passionate about supporting kids and teens, I greatly appreciate it if you could pass on this great news. Thanks so much again for your support, and let's get started. Welcome everyone back to the Autism ADHD podcast. I am so glad that you joined me today. Before we get into this very important topic, I just want to thank all of you who have taken the time to write a review on the podcast. It means so much to me. And I did want to highlight a review, and I'm going to do this here and there. Andrea in California, this is from you. Holly is amazing. I feel like she's speaking directly to me. She's very relatable and clear and full of good ideas about how to navigate this parenting journey. I have a 10-year-old girl with ADHD and recently diagnosed with autism, as well as a 14-year-old girl with anxiety. I love Holly's way of rethinking about things. I re-listen to her episodes often, take notes, and share often with friends and my husband. Thank you, Andrea. I'm so excited that you are loving the podcast and finding it helpful. All right, today we're talking about what to stop saying to neurodivergent kids. And these two words I have seen contribute to depression. I want to start with something that might sound familiar. And maybe you've caught yourself thinking, my child should be more independent. I should be handling this better. They should be making friends. They should be getting better grades. I should be doing more for my kid. My student should be able to sit longer. My client should be able to, and you just fill in the blank. If any of those thoughts resonated with you, you are not alone. I want to talk about something that's been weighing heavily on my heart. It's the devastating impact of should be. I need to be vulnerable here with you, and I appreciate your openness to that. As a neurodivergent person myself, I grew up drowning in should be statements. You should be more organized. You should be able to clean your room. You should be able to remember your locker number. I shouldn't have to keep telling you. You should be grateful for what you have. You should be more like your sister. Here's what those words did to me. They created a constant internal voice of comparison. I felt inadequate all of the time. And even now at 50, when I hear should be, I feel sick to my stomach. I just feel this wave of shame come over me. And I still carry the weight of all those comparisons in my body. And I know that you do not want that for your child. You don't want that for your student. You don't want it for your client. You don't want it for yourself. I know you want them to feel worthy and accepted for who they are and not constantly measured against who they should be. Here's the thing though, should be, it's really just this comparison dressed up as expectation. I'm going to say that again. It's really just comparison dressed up as expectation. When we say a child should be able to do something, we're holding them up against some invisible standard, and that's usually a neurotypical standard, or maybe something against their siblings, classmates, or even against who they were yesterday or earlier today. But think about what we're really saying when we use should be. We're saying other kids your age can do this, so you should be able to do it. Your brain should work like other brains. You should be farther along than you are. ADHD kids, autistic kids, they aren't like neurotypical kids. Their executive functioning is different. Their sensory systems work differently. Their social understanding unfolds on a different timeline. When we use should be, we're asking them to be someone they're not. Here's where it gets really dangerous. Should be thinking doesn't motivate change. It doesn't. That may be our intention. Maybe if I tell them they should be, then they'll do it. This isn't about motivation. It's about shame. Deep, persistent shame that sits in the body. And it tells them all the time, you're not enough, day after day. Picture this, your child is struggling with something that feels impossible to them. Maybe it's organizing their backpack or looking someone in the eye during a conversation or sitting still in class. So instead of getting understanding and support, they hear, you should be able to do this. So what message does that send? It says your struggles aren't valid. You're choosing not to succeed. There is something fundamentally wrong with you. The child or teen, they're not thinking, oh, let me try harder. What they're thinking is, I'm broken. I can't do what I should be able to do. Everyone else can do this except me. And this is where we need to talk about the serious mental health implications of should be thinking. When children, especially neurodivergent children, are constantly compared to others and told they should be different than they are, we're setting them up for depression. That voice, that internal voice says, I'm not good enough. I'll never be good enough. What is wrong with me? That's this internal dialogue forming in their mind. And it starts early and it digs in. I still struggle with what's wrong with me. I remember being so little and thinking that all the time. When children live in constant fear of not measuring up, when they're always worried about disappointing the adults in their life, when they are hyper vigilant about being found out, that's when that anxiety takes root. One of the most heartbreaking parts of all this is children who grow up with should be messages, they learn to hate parts of themselves. They learn that their neurodivergent traits, the very things that make them unique and amazing are actually problems to either hide or fix. I see this all the time. Adults who were raised with should be messages come to me carrying decades of this internalized shame. They've learned to be their own worst critics, constantly comparing themselves to others, never feeling quite good enough. They tell me things like, I should be more organized. I should be able to handle these social situations better. I should be more like other people. I should be able to do groups of people like other people do. These adults have internalized the comparison trap so deeply that they become their own should be police, constantly judging themselves against this standard that they can't meet because they're not built that way. And here's what's really tragic. When we're stuck in should be thinking about ourselves, we unconsciously pass it on to our kids. And if we're constantly comparing ourselves to others, we'll do the same with our kids. So if you are the parent who thinks I should be handling this better, you may then be thinking my child should be easier to manage. The teacher who thinks I should be able to reach every single student, that teacher is more likely to think this student should be trying harder. So what do we do? What's the alternative? How do we break free from this destructive pattern? First, we need to recognize should be thinking when it shows up. Catch yourself. They should be, I should be, this should be. I just did this last night because it came up for me too. Then we step back and be curious. So instead of my child should be more independent, I want you to think there's that should be. I wonder where that came from. Maybe it came from the way I grew up. Maybe I'm going to step back and think of this differently. I wonder what support my child needs to develop more independence in their life in the way that works for them. And instead of I should be handling this better, what if you get curious and think, this is challenging for me right now? You're allowed to feel that way. What do I need to handle this situation with more peace or in the way that is going to work best for me and my family? Instead of they should be making friends, I'm curious about what social connection looks like for this child in particular and how I can support that. Those are really different ways of thinking. One of the most important shifts we can make is understanding that neurodivergent development doesn't follow neurotypical guidelines. It doesn't. There's not this book that shows, oh, if this is happening, then they're also going to be doing this. This is what you should expect. It's not like that. All because you may have a child who's academically gifted in an area doesn't necessarily mean that emotionally they look like their neurotypical peers. They might have incredible creativity, but struggle with organization. They might be deeply empathetic, but have trouble picking up on social cues. There's no should be about any of these things. There is no what to expect. There's just what is, and what is exactly where they need to be in this moment. The what is where you need to be in this moment. When we let go of should be thinking, something really amazing happens. We create space for acceptance. We create space for our kids to be who they are with all of their strengths and their challenges. This acceptance is so healing. Children who feel accepted for who they are don't develop the same patterns of shame and self-loathing. They don't spend their energy trying to be someone else. They can put that energy into growing and learning. If you're a parent listening right now, you may have grown up with should be messages. You may have learned that love was conditional on meeting your parents' expectations, that your worth was tied to your performance. It's okay to grieve that. It's okay to feel sad about the messages you received and the messages you may have passed on. And it's okay to start changing those patterns today. Because I have felt the same way. I have said should be. It's about starting to change those patterns because it isn't ever too late. If you are a therapist or educator, I want to challenge you to examine your own should be thoughts. Are you comparing your neurodivergent clients or students to these developmental norms that don't apply to them? Are you setting expectations based on neurotypical timelines? Remember, our role isn't to make neurodivergent children more neurotypical. Our role is to help them thrive as the beautifully unique individuals they are. Here's what I want you to remember. Every time you choose curiosity over comparison, every time you choose acceptance over should be, you are breaking that cycle. You're creating space for healing and you're modeling a different way of being in the world. I struggle with this so much. I was just saying this the other day. I should be more like this other person. And I caught it. Our neurodivergent kids need us to see them for who they are, not who we think they should be. They need us to celebrate their progress, not compare it to others. They need us to trust their timeline and not force them onto someone else's timeline. Believe me, this isn't easy. It requires us to examine our own internalized messages, to sit with our own discomfort when things don't go as expected, to choose love over fear again and again. But our kids are worth it. They deserve to grow up feeling inherently worthy, not constantly measured against impossible standards, standards that don't even apply to them. They deserve to know that they are enough exactly as they are. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for being on this journey with me. I'll see you next time. If you found this podcast helpful, I greatly appreciate it if you could take a second to give it a 5-star review. With your positive feedback, I can continue bringing you free, valuable information. As an extra thanks to you for sticking around, there are special gifts waiting for you in the show notes. You'll find links to free resources on supporting neurodivergent kids and teens with social interaction, emotional regulation, and more. So come on down to the show notes and get your free resources. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
All content provided is protected under applicable copyright, patent, trademark, and other proprietary rights. All content is provided for informational and educational purposes only. No content is intended to be a substitute for professional medical or psychological diagnosis, advice, or treatment. Information provided does not create an agreement for service between Holly Blanc Moses Crossvine Clinical Group, the interviewee, Holly Blanc Moses LLC, and the recipient. Consult your physician regarding the applicability of any opinions or recommendations with respect to your symptoms or medical condition or the symptoms or medical condition of your family member. Children or adults who show signs of dangerous behavior toward themselves and/or others should be placed immediately under the care of a qualified professional.